Hello and welcome to Star Wars Galaxy. My name is RJ, and today we're talking about the unknown regions and wild space parts of the galaxy. They are two different things, and they actually have different meanings between both canon and legends, so try not to get confused. We're going to go over both. In canon, the unknown regions is specifically this area in the galactic west. Wild space refers to any area outside of the known and charted map of the galaxy. In legends, the unknown regions, in addition to referring to the area in the galactic west that it occupies in canon, also includes all areas of space that were not explored or charted. Now, you might be thinking that this sounds a lot like wild space in canon, and you'd be right. In Legends, the unknown regions referred to the canon locations for the unknown regions and wild space. Legends wild space then referred to the border between the known galaxy and the unknown regions. While the unknown regions were largely unexplored, wild space had mapped hyperlanes and planets. Ironically, this is sort of the opposite of what is now canon, with the unknown regions being a defined area of known size with some mapping, mostly during Palpatine's reign and with the aid of Thrawn, and wild space is completely unmapped. So, to summarize, in canon, this is the unknown regions, and this is wild space, while in Legends, this is the unknown regions, although it usually refers to just this area anyway, and this is wild space. Now, you may have noticed when looking at a map of the Star Wars galaxy that it seems a little skewed to one side. The right side of the map, or Galactic East, is where all the planets we really know about are located. The left side, or Galactic West, is relatively empty. The unknown regions are separated from the galaxy by a series of difficult-to-navigate solar storms, black holes, other gravity wells, and gravitational anomalies, and whatever the hell a magnetosphere is. Actually, you know what? Let's find out. Okay, that seems simple enough. All of these gravitational sources make for difficult hyperspace travel since all hyperdrives came with a failsafe that turns off the hyperdrive when a gravity well is detected. Mostly because it will destroy the ship if you crash into the source, it will rip the ship apart if you try to pass through the field. Some of the notable planets in the unknown regions include Death Star 3, Starkiller Base, the First Order system killer, or at least it used to be there. It got blown up. Also, apparently it can enter hyperspace somehow, so only its origin point is in the unknown regions. Don't ask how it does that, because I have no idea. Although, to be fair, there are no engines on the Death Star either, so what are you going to do? Also in the unknown regions was Ahch-To, believed to be the site of the first Jedi Temple. This was the planet that Luke went into exile on after the destruction of his Jedi Temple by his nephew, Ben Solo. It was home to several native species, including the Lanai and the Thalassiran, as well as the merchandise, porgs. Ilum was a snowy planet and home to many deposits of kyber crystals. From the Old Republic to the Clone Wars, Jedi younglings would journey there to collect kyber crystals to build their lightsaber. While it wasn't the only source of kyber crystals in the galaxy, it was the largest and most popular. It's also possible that the planet was later converted into Starkiller Base by the First Order. Jasilla was the homeworld of the Chiss species. Not much is known about the Chiss in canon, although they do rule over a sizable chunk of territory called the Chiss Ascendancy. They are ruled over by a series of royal families that are constantly fighting each other for power. As of right now, the only notable member of the species is Thrawn, who appears in 2, soon-to-be 3 books, and the Rebels TV show. Rakata Prime I am kind of hesitant to mention because it's kind of barely canon, could very easily be removed. That being said, there is almost no current information on it in the canon. In Legends, it was the home of the Rakata, an ancient species that had a galaxy-spanning empire long before the Republic was formed. They used technology fueled by the dark side to enslave much of the galaxy and were responsible for the creation of hyperspace travel. They were nearly wiped out by a mysterious plague that cut them off from the Force and rendered their technology unusable. However, none of this is currently canon, and the only thing we know for sure is that there is a planet in the same spot as before with the same name. No mention of the Rakatan species or their history is made. Docile was an early testing ground for the Starkiller Base before Episode 7 that was featured in Resistance. In Legends, partially due to Legends being more expansive and partially due to the unknown regions being more expansive, there were a lot more threats and species that lived in the unknown regions. Everything from the Empire of the Hand, to the Yuzong Vong, to the last Killik hives, to the world-destroying Nal Nal, and more. However, the extent to which these ideas are introduced into canon, if they ever are, remains to be seen. Next up is wild space, and as I mentioned before, this region is largely unmapped in canon. As such, we don't know a lot about it and the planets that are inside it. The most notable planet in wild space is Kamino. And while there is a mapped route to Kamino, although it was deleted for a time, it is located outside of the proper Star Wars galaxy and is near one of its satellite galaxies, commonly referred to as the Rishi Maze. Since it's outside of the galaxy proper, it is considered wild space despite there being a mapped hyperlane to it. This was home to the native Kaminoan species, a highly intelligent species that specialized in cloning technology, as well as creation of the Grand Army of the Republic, which was made entirely up of clones, based off of the bounty hunter Jango Fett's DNA. Next up is Teth, which can be seen in the Clone Wars movie. It was a jungle planet controlled by the Hutts and the location of Rada the Hutt, Jabba's son, after his capture by Asajj Ventress. The monastery where Rada was held was built by the Bomar monks, who believed they needed to remove all physical sensations to become enlightened. Some of those who succeeded can be seen in Jabba's palace inside of BT-16 spider droids. Mortis is also in wild space. This strange monolith is home to 3 immensely powerful beings called the Ones. Known as the daughter, son, and father, these beings represent the light, dark, and balance between the light and dark, respectively. If you're wondering if there's a mother, there was in Legends. Her name was Abeloth, and damn is she terrifying. During the Clone Wars, Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan journeyed there and met the Ones. However, after they left, all 3 Ones had died. However, how much of their story is real and actually happened is up to interpretation. Although Rebels would seem to hint to it being more real. Speaking of Rebels, Lyra-San was also in wild space. This was the original homeworld of the Lasat people and was located behind an imploded star cluster. As such, it was nearly impossible to get to without special guidance from a Lasat ritual. Lysatra was the home of one Eli Vanto, a figure very important to Grand Admiral Thrawn during his time training and working his way up the ranks of the Empire. And those are all the important canon planets. In Legends, wild space wasn't mentioned much, and its definition has since changed, so the only other planet I'm going to mention is Zakul, simply because of how important it was during the Old Republic era. This was the capital world of the Eternal Empire, as ruled by Emperor Valkorion, formerly the Sith Emperor Vitiate, and later his son Arcand and daughter Valen. It's kind of similar to Palpatine's Dark Empire after he comes back in a clone body. Yeah, Legends is weird at times. And those are all the planets in wild space. For the most part, it seems like wild space and the unknown regions were unexplored mostly due to the number of gravitational anomalies located there. However, it is also likely that given time and resources, these areas could be explored, especially the nearer parts of wild space. Canon's wild space, that is, by the way. It appears that the people of the galaxy never really got around to exploring these areas. This is likely due to there still being so many planets even in just the Outer Rim that had yet to be explored and colonized. With the amount of planets in the Outer Rim that did not have a substantial galactic republic presence, it makes sense that finding new planets was not really high up on the people's priority list. With the lack of need and the likely difficulty and expenses that come from exploring unmapped areas of space, especially areas with high concentrations of gravitational anomalies, the unknown regions in wild space remained unmapped and unexplored. The people there felt little to no connection to the explored galaxy, even if they knew about it at all. Should these areas ever be explored, it's likely they would have wonders in technology unlike anything else in the galaxy, even more so than the Umbarans, although likely less advanced. However, the need to travel in such difficult environments likely creates different and impressive hyperspace travel. As of now, all we know about is the Chiss way of traveling through hyperspace. They utilize their Force-sensitive children, for some reason it goes away into adulthood, to predict where the anomalies will be to get through the unknown regions. Funnily enough, these children were referred to as Skywalkers. And that's all I got. Click these buttons, social media, yada yada yada. Bye.